Good morning, good morning. If you are here to learn how to take listings and more listings, you're in the right spot. So welcome everyone, thanks for being here. We're gonna give it just a minute as it takes time to get everyone on the call. In the meantime, it's always fun to know where people are from. So utilize the chat, feel free to let me know who you are, where you're from. Whoever traveled here the furthest will get the most out of today's call. I promise you that. How's that? All right. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have a great holiday planned also. Hopefully you're using this time to not be here to learn, to get educated, but also to recharge your guys' batteries, right? That's important. All right, upstate New York, look at that. Boise, Idaho, welcome. Texas. Now, I know it's not Greenville, I know it's Greenville. Greenville, is that how we say it in South Carolina? All right, JD, we got it right. All right, welcome. So like I said, we're just gonna give it a minute here as we're getting everyone admitted into the call. Again, thank you for being here. It's gonna be fast and furious today, so get ready to write, get ready to take notes. We got a lot to cover. We got 5 topics in 30 minutes. So imagine that, imagine that. All right, wow, more Round Rock, look at that. The DMV. I don't know if I want those initials, the DMV. It's not what we think it is. DC, Maryland. DC, Maryland, welcome guys. All right, so again, as everyone's jumping on, we're getting you guys in here. It's coming. Let me know who you are, where you're from. Northeast Georgia, welcome. Man, Texas is representing. Houston, College Station, Austin, Round Rock. Look at that. Look at that. So like I said, you're here to learn where to find more listings for 2022. And I'll tell you this, the cool thing is we're not going over all the normal stuff, all right? We're going over some cool trends that we're seeing out there going on in the world. So if that's okay with you, right? It's not gonna be a rehash of all the traditionals. You guys already got that stuff. We're gonna mix it up today. We're gonna mix it up. Tucson, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Oh, there he is from Tucson. Birmingham, Alabama. All right, so we'll give it one more minute, I promise, as I see we're still getting people in. And as they're coming in, we'll give it one more minute before we get started. And by the way, the chat's moving pretty quick. So if you do have any pertinent questions, just know that there's only one of me, so I'll try and keep on top of the chat. But here's the good news. We're gonna have 15, 20 minutes at the end of Q&A. So again, if you have questions, the cool thing about these calls being live, right, is that it's interactive, all right? We'll have time for questions. We'll get them all answered. It's also being recorded, right? So if there's anything you wanna listen to, you certainly can do that after the fact. The recordings will come out in the weekly MAPS newsletter that we get every Friday, because I know you all look at the newsletter, correct? Say yes. Yes, there's lots of great content in there. So, all right. I think we can get going. Hey, if they're not here yet, then that's on them. So, all right, everyone, welcome to the top 5 ways to find more listings today. I'm MAPS coach Aaron Simons. I'm located in San Diego, California. It's cold outside, right? It might be somewhere in the 60s. So thank you all for being here today. We're gonna have some fun, right? One of the things that I also do, which is why I'm leading this course, is I do run a listing agent training program called 30, 60, 90 for listing agents. So we can talk more about that at the end. But it's what I cut my teeth on, taking listings. And so as an executive coach, I've got the ability to peek behind the curtains of some of the top teams here at Keller Williams. And so what I'm gonna bring to you are some of the trends, some of the things that don't get a lot of recognition, right? That we can implement now in order to find more listings. So like I said, the call's recorded. We're gonna go fast. We're gonna go furious. We'll have time for Q&A at the end, right? So get ready to take notes, okay? We're gonna start with number 1, all right? So the number 1 trend that I see for 2022 on where we can find more listings is in what I call right sizing, right? It's right sizing. So think about it. In your market, how much appreciation have you guys seen in the last 2 years? It's been tremendous, correct? It's been tremendous. We've seen most markets anywhere from 20 upwards of 30, even higher in terms of growth, right? On prices going up. So all of a sudden, people have more money in their homes than ever before. And I think the important thing to understand about that is what they can do with that money, right? It's like money has fallen from the sky into their lap. And in a lot of markets, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's life-changing money. And what we're seeing, in my opinion, what we're going to continue to see in 2022 are people taking advantage and using that money to their benefit. So think about it, right? You guys have probably already helped clients this past year, right? Cash out, take their chips off the table, and do something different with the money. And so I've narrowed it down to about 5 or 6 opportunities of what people are doing. Now, think about it. I'm in California. So we already know that everyone's leaving California, right? They're going out, all you guys, into Texas, right? But there's some more important things to look at. So when you think about the largest percentage of homeowners in the United States is what category? It's the baby boomers, right? Baby boomers are the largest percentage of homeowners in the United States, right? So here we are, right? They've got probably homes that are a little bit too big for them. Their kids are either going to college or have gone off to college, right? Their home has appreciated 20, 30% in the last 2 years. Maybe they're still working, maybe they're looking at retiring, and all of a sudden they have the ability to take the money out, right? Downsize from their 5-bedroom, 3,000 square foot to a 1,800 square foot 3-bedroom condo, simplify their life, take some cash off the table, put it into their retirement accounts, and retire. It's a huge opportunity, right? Now, in California, they're taking the money off the table and leaving and going to Texas and buying homes for cash, but it's life-changing, right? So we have to understand that as we see people right-sizing, number one, they're taking the money and retiring early. Now, that's just one opportunity. The other opportunity that they're doing is they might be downsizing their primary residence and then taking the money and buying a second home or an Airbnb, right? We're seeing that as a big trend. Now, the third thing that we're seeing them do with the money is that they might be taking some of that money off the table. Maybe their retirement accounts are great, but they might now be taking and funding their grandkids' college education. We're seeing that happening a lot, right? Now, the other thing that they're doing with that money, right? Because prices are so high and maybe their kids are getting to the point where they're ready to buy a home. And yet, because prices are so high, not the easiest thing to be a first-time home buyer in a market that prices have skyrocketed. So what are they doing with the extra cash in their homes? They're cashing out and helping their kids buy properties, right? We're seeing that as a huge opportunity. Now, the other opportunity that we're seeing out there is that if they own investment property or second homes and they're tired of it, we're also seeing them cash out and take their chips off the table. Why would they want to do that now versus an exchange? Well, keep in mind, capital gains will never be cheaper than what they are today. So if there was ever an opportunity for someone to cash out, pay the taxes on it, and then take that money and do with it what they want, now's that time, right? Now's the time. Does that make sense? Capital gains will never be cheaper than what they are today. So we're seeing a lot of people take advantage of that. Now, the other thing that we're seeing is, again, I had mentioned that baby boomers, right? You know, are the when you look at the homeowners, they're the largest percentage of homeowners out there. What we're also seeing is as you get to the, I don't know, the upper end of the baby boomer age range, right? Or the baby boomers' parents, which is also called the greatest generation, we're seeing them cash out their properties and then move into some form of retirement living. The point is, the market has given people a giant windfall, and there's a lot of reasons why they should be taking advantage of it. And when we can speak to that, right? When we can talk to our database and be their consultant on this, right? And show them examples of how this is happening or what it looks like, we will find more listings in that arena. Does that make sense? So as people right size, as they take the money, the chips off the table, they're retiring early, they're buying second homes, they're funding their grandkids' college education, they're buying their kids a house, right? They're cashing out to avoid capital gains. They might be transitioning to senior housing. It's gonna be a bigger and bigger trend in 2022, right? So the more you speak to it, the more you look for these opportunities, the more listings you'll find. And we'll talk here in a minute on exactly how we can do that. But that's number one, right? Number one place to find more listings, people that are right sizing. All right. Okay. And it's recorded. I see the chat. I'm going fast. It's recorded. Okay. Number two. Let's talk about professional referrals for a minute. Professional referrals. So what do I mean by professional referrals? Okay. How about referrals from estate planning attorneys, financial planners, CPAs, right? Because as we talked about number one, which is people right sizing, do you think they might be having a couple conversations with some professionals before they actually pull the trigger? You better believe it, right? Also, let's talk a minute about the opportunity with estate planning attorneys real quick, right? Because in essence, what do estate planning attorneys do? Well, number one, they help people establish trust. And number two, they help administer trust or probate when people pass on. Right? And as the population is aging, because again, let's go back to the baby boomers again, it's the largest, not only homeowners, but in terms of size of population in the United States, right? Second only to their parents who were the seniors, which are the greatest generation. The number of people that are passing on each year is going up and up and up just because the population is aging. And so we have a tremendous opportunity through professional referrals with estate planning attorneys, financial planners, and CPAs to make great connections and to be the recipient of that referral business. Now, let's talk real quick about that, right? Because it's not just a one-way street. Wow, they have business for us. No, no, no. When it comes to estate planning attorneys, you all on this call have referrals that you should be sending their way. What do I mean by that? Okay, how many buyers did you guys represent in 2021, right? How many buyers did you represent in 2021? Now, of those buyers, how many of them already have taken the time to do some estate planning and put their homes in a trust? Less than 5%, because we already know that less than 5% of people own their real estate in a trust. Would it be a good idea for them to consult with an estate planning attorney to see if they should take that step and establish a trust? You better believe it. Yet, did you pick up the phone and call an estate planning attorney and say, hey, I just helped the family buy a home. They haven't done anything to protect their estate. Can you give them a call? You probably didn't make that call, right? You probably didn't send that referral to the estate planning attorney. Just like all the referrals that they're coming across each month of people who have homes to sell because they're administering a trust or a probate, they didn't pick up the phone and say, hey, I've got a family, so-and-so passed on, they need to sell their mother's house. It's just a communication issue, right? It's just a communication issue. So the point I'm making here is we have just as much to provide them as they have to provide us. The question is, are you picking up the phone and making the call, right? Because you have something to provide to them. Now, let's talk about how we can easily connect with more professionals in a way where we're being intentional about growing that network. Because what would it look like if you had 25 estate planning attorneys, CPAs, financial planners, right? What would it look like if you had 50, 75 of them that were constantly referring you business? It's not that difficult. So we have a couple options. We could go to the phone book, right? And we could pick up the phone book and start reaching out to them. However, there's an easier way to do it. And it's by referral because you guys are all already connected. So here we are, we're at the end of the year, right? I hope you all are gonna file your taxes, come March or April. And I'm assuming that a lot of you guys probably use a CPA to prepare your taxes, correct? Well, here's a thought. Why don't we reach out to our CPA and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. CPA, who do you refer clients to when they have estate planning needs? And I guarantee it, your CPA will be able to refer you to an estate planning attorney. You then get to call that attorney and say, hey, so-and-so CPA referred me to you and thought it would be a good idea to see if we can help each other's business. So now all of a sudden, you're reaching out to that attorney, not because you found them in the yellow pages, You're reaching out to them because you were referred to them by another professional. Because guess where most of their business comes from? Other professional referrals. And you're not just showing up like asking for a handout. Hey, do you have any leads for me? No, you're showing up because you actually have people in your database that could use their services, right? And so you're showing up with that premise. And of course, then you're going to dive deeper into their business and see what cases they're working on that have real estate needs. And you're going to establish a relationship, right? Now, let's talk about financial planners here for a second, right? So financial planners are important because if I'm that baby boomer, and let's say I have a parent, right, who's a senior citizen, who it's time for them to move into some form of senior living or retirement, chances are, right, it's not cheap, right? It's not cheap to move into one of those facilities. So I'm probably going to reach out to my financial planner and say, hey, I need to sell mom's home. Here's approximately how much is in equity. If we sold the house, where would you take this money such that we have an income for her to afford where she's moving to, right? That's why financial planners are important, because people are reaching out to them to figure out what to do with the equity before they ever reach out to a real estate agent, right? Now, same thing with CPAs. Let's go back to the example I gave on people who are looking to cash out, pay the taxes, and take their chips off the table, right? They're going to reach out to their CPA first and say, hey, if I sell this investment property and I don't do an exchange, right, talk to me about what my tax implications are. So the point I'm making is that there's a lot of specific examples on why a homeowner is going to first go to a financial planner, first go to a CPA, right? First, maybe even end up with an estate planning attorney before they come to the real estate agent. And so you can see we're having a relationship with each one of these professionals. And look, there's more professionals. I'm just giving you the 3 easy examples is beneficial. Okay. So now let's go back to what I call the referral train. So I already shared with you the little tidbit about call the CPA, ask who the CPA refers clients to when they have estate planning needs. That's how we're now going to get connected with an estate planning attorney, correct? Cool. We're meeting with that estate planning attorney, right? Why not ask them? Hey, estate planning attorney, who do you refer your clients to if they have any financial planning needs? They might now refer you to a financial planner, right? Now you meet with that financial planner. Hey, financial planner, so-and-so estate planning attorney referred me to you. That would be a good idea for us to connect, see if we can help each other's business, right? Now you ask that financial planner. You say, hey, by the way, who do you refer clients to when they have tax or accounting needs? Chances are that financial planner is going to refer you to a different CPA, and now you can keep going. You see how fun that is? You can go from professional to professional to professional, right? Asking for referrals from each one of them to other professionals, and you can now grow a network without ever having to make a cold call. You follow me? All by referral, all by just simply asking the question. Right? Now, yes, for those of you in the chat, it's recorded. You guys are going to get the recording. I'm talking fast. We're going fast. We're only at 2, and we got 3 more sources to get to, right? But you guys see the opportunity with with professional referrals. They have business. They're on the front lines. Are we now creating those relationships? And here's the last thing I'll say about it before I move on from it. The mistake I see made is that an agent will go out and create the relationships, the first time meeting, right? They'll get face to face. Everybody loves each other. The problem is the minute that meeting's over, that professional is going to forget about you. And the only way they're going to remember you is if you're calling them and emailing them every single month, right? Every single month asking for the business. So I recommend you alternate every 2 weeks, phone call, email, phone call, email, phone call, email. So they're hearing from you every 2 weeks, alternating phone call, email, right? Simple script. Hey, just checking in to see if there's any new clients or cases you're working on that have a real estate need I can help with. From time to time, you're going to say, by the way, I just closed on this great buyer. Here's what they need. Can you help them? All right. So that's professional referrals. Let's move on. All right. Moving on to golden letters. Oh my gosh, is this a great topic from 2021? So the golden letter, right? Look, the golden letter is just an acknowledgement that there are a lot of people out there wanting to sell, right? And they know the market's hot and they know a lot of deals are happening off market. All right. So what I'm going to do real quick if I can find it here, is I want to share with you what the golden letter is, because I see a lot of people using it incorrectly, right? Incorrectly. So the golden letter, whoops, here we go, is simply just this, okay? It's simply just this, right? Dear homeowner, would you be interested in selling your home at 123 Main Street to a client of mine? If so, call me. That's it. It's not a marketing piece. It's a very intimate letter to a homeowner, right? It's recorded. You'll go back and you can see that. Now, the key to that is a couple of things. Number one, it's got to go in a hand-addressed envelope, right? Take the letter, put it in an envelope, hand-address it with a stamp, a real stamp, right? Because if it's hand-addressed, there's a higher likelihood that they open it, right? When they open it and they read it, it's a very intimate letter because it's not a marketing piece, right? You're addressing the homeowner, their property. Would they be interested in selling it to a client of yours? If they're thinking about selling, they're going to call. Now, the other important piece when we're using golden letters is that we have to be sending it into areas that have enough turnover. 6% turnover is the rule of thumb. If there's not enough turnover, you're not going to get the response rate, which is the next point. What's the response rate often on the letters? It's about 2%. It could be a little bit lower. It could be a little bit higher. But 2% response rate is about what you're seeing right on the letters. So the point is, right, it's consistency, consistency, consistency. Because where I see agents fail with this is they send out some letters, they get some calls, and then they don't send out letters again. The letter works if the phone rings, right? The letter works if the phone rings. And you got to keep sending them and keep sending them because you're building a pipeline, right? And not everyone is ready to sell today. So then there's follow-up involved, right? So the point is with the golden letter, you got to follow it to a T. I share with you what it looks like, all right? Hand addressed envelope, a real stamp. It's going to an area that has at least a 6% turnover, right? And we have to be consistent in dropping our letters, not in the same area, different area every time, right? We have to be consistent in dropping them every month. And then of course, in our follow-up, all right? Look, we could spend all day on golden letters, but that's as far as I'm going to go with it for now. Because what I want to do is I want to now go to number 4, which is social media. All right, so here's the deal, everybody. Everyone loves to talk about real estate, right? Have you noticed that? Everyone loves to talk about real estate. When you turn on the television, how many shows and networks are dedicated to real estate, right? Lots of them. And not even yes, there's this exciting ones, flip or flop. There's the $1 million real estate agent selling Sunset. Those are all the exciting ones. But then there's the really mundane, boring shows that people love. Have you guys ever watched House Hunters? Right? How boring. You're looking at, no offense, whatever market you're in, but my gosh, some of those houses and some of those markets just are not very exciting. And yet people love to watch it, right? People love to watch it. So anyway, the point is there's no $1 million CPA on Bravo, right? You're not seeing $1 million insurance man. No, it's real estate. People love to talk about real estate. So the point I'm making is we have a huge opportunity to be interesting when it comes to social media, right? And the point, let me just say this, where people are not interesting in terms of real estate is just listed and just sold. Nobody wants to see another front picture of a home with a garage and a front door. They all look the same. It's not interesting, right? Can you please show someone behind the front door, right? Interesting kitchen, interesting yard, interesting cars in the garage. I don't care. Can we please get beyond here's the front of a house and be more interesting? Because what do people go on social media for? Influence, right? To get influenced in a hopefully a positive way, right? They want to see what other homes look like so they can figure out what they want their home to look like, right? They look at all what people eat so they can figure out what they want to eat, where they want to go on vacation. So the point I'm making is, can we please be a little bit more interesting in what we're posting out there on real estate, right? We get to go peek behind the curtain of all these homes every single week. We get to see all sorts of cool stuff. We're doing cool stuff. Let's just share and be interesting in social media. So now what I want to do is I want to give you, let's go back to the right sizing and let me talk to you about how we can really be interesting also in an educational and an informative way on social media, right? So I already shared with you, when it comes to right sizing, what people are doing with the money, right? They're retiring early. They're buying a second home or an Airbnb. They're funding their grandkids' college education. They're buying their kids a house. They're avoiding capital gains and cashing out. Okay, so how can we now go talk about that on social media in an interesting manner? Well, here's something cool. Let's talk about retirement. Most people don't realize if they've got 300,000 of equity built up over the last 3 years that the market's given them, most people don't know if they took that money out and stuck it in their retirement account or in some form of investment, how much income that could bring them each month. So why don't we get on and do an interview with the financial planner that we went out and got connected to and say, hey, can we talk a little bit about what people could be doing with all this equity in their home and how they could actually turn it from just equity sitting there into money that they're earning? I'd watch that. That's interesting. Buying a second home or an Airbnb. This is such a sexy topic out there right now. How many people, I want to buy a vacation rental, right? I want to get an Airbnb. Everybody wants to do it. So how can we now take advantage of this on social media? What would it look like if we went out and found a great, short-term rental property manager and brought them on and said, all right, give us the skinny. What do people need to know about buying a second home and turning it into an Airbnb, right? What do people need to know about it? That one to me, I think would be a popular one. How about the college funding, right? Let's go back to that financial planner on the college funding. Hey, if you wanted to set up a college fund and take some of that equity out of your home for your grandkids' college education, right? What's the best way to do that, right? Again, we're back with our financial planner. Or buying their kids a house. Actually, you know what is also another trend? Have you guys had any clients who are actually buying their parents a house? Anybody have that scenario this past year, right? And do gift funds go up a generation, not just down a generation, right? Have you ever thought about that? Anyone have the answer to that question, right? Again, it's an interesting topic, and we could bring our lender on this one and said, hey, let's talk about what it looks like if you're going to be buying your kids a home and gifting them funds, right? I think that would be a very interesting topic. All right, and then of course, cashing out, avoid capital gains. Come on, get those CPAs on social media and say, why are capital gains the lowest they'll ever be in history today? What are capital gains likely to do in the next year? By the way, if you guys don't know that answer, you better go ask your CPAs, right? Because that's a very, very real conversation that you can be having. Point is, you can see how you can take each one of those topics, turn it into something really interesting and informative, not just on social media. You can then take it and send it out to your database as well. That's the kind of stuff that people find interesting. Okay, now, number 5. I told you we were going to go fast and furious, right? I told you we were going to go fast and furious. Number 5, let's talk about your current deals. Let's talk about your current deals. I promise, right? If you were to just treat your current deals a little bit differently, you would have more listings coming out of those deals, right, than anything else. And here's all I'm going to say, right? Because I don't need to rehash the promise script. We can all go Google Mike Hicks promise script, okay? Here's the problem. Here's the problem. It's not a script. It's a system. It's a system, right? So the reason why you're not getting results if you're using it is because you're using it as a script, not as a system, right? What do I mean by that? It's not one magical, and by the way, if you're sending messages, I apologize. I'm going fast and furious. It's not just one magical script we deliver and then 30 days later referrals roll in. No, it's a system. It's a system. We do the script up front, whether it's Mike Hicks promise script or any version of the whole setting expectations around, we're going to give you great customer service. That way, not only will you give us a 5-star review, you'll send us a referral as well. All right. That, by the way, that could be your script right there. You don't even have to go any further than that. The system is we're checking in with them each step of the way throughout contract to close, right? At the magical moments when we call them with good information. Hey, congratulations, we got through the home inspection, right? Usually they're pretty happy if it's a good result, right? And if it's a positive result, hey, by the way, how are we doing? Are we giving you that 5-star service we promised? Great. Who else do you know that's going to buy or sell we should be talking to? Appraisal came back. No appraisal issues. We get to call and deliver that good information, right? Hey, by the way, how are we doing? Are we giving you that 5-star service we promised? Great. Who else do you know that's looking to buy or sell we should be talking to? All right. We get through repair requests. Same thing. We get through loan underwriting. Same thing. We now get, clear to close. So there's 4, 5, 6 different spots throughout that transaction from contract to close that we're checking in on, are we giving you the level of service we promised? And if the answer is yes, then great, ask them, who else do you know? Such that by the end of it, right, it's guaranteed that they have a referral because we've been asking them throughout the process. It's not ask them up front, forget about it for 30 days and say, hey, where's my referral? We've asked them throughout the process. That's the system, right? That's the system. So, all right, in summary, to recap, top 5 sources of where we can find more business starting today as we head into the new year. Number 1 was right sizing. Okay. Number 2, professional referrals. Number 3, golden letters. Number 4, social media. And number 5 is your current deals. Okay. So with that said, I promised you it was going to go fast. It was going to go furious, right? It's recorded, so you can go back and listen to it. However, what I wanted to do was just take a quick minute, open it up for Q&A. I apologize. I can try and catch up on the chat, or if you want to take yourself off mute, hopefully it's not all at once, take yourself off mute and ask a question. I'm here for you guys.
I have a question. This is Sharon Harvey.
Thank you, Sharon.
Can you tell me what right sizing is again? I
Okay, so right size is just a nicer way to say downsize.
Okay.
Downsize, right? Because they're not down. I mean, sure, maybe they're downsizing their home, but really they're just, in my opinion, right sizing and then taking the equity and doing something more beneficial with it, right? And especially in terms of baby boomers. You know, like I said, kids moved out, they don't need 5 bedrooms. Let's go get the right size home, take some of that equity, and let's go do something different with it. That's, again, I think we're gonna see a lot of that in 2022. So great question, Sharon. Right size just means downsize. It just sounds better. All right, good question. Who else has a question?
I do.
Go ahead, Anita.
I just wanted to say that I know this really, really works. I figured it out myself and I have been doing it. So, and I live in California.
Which one works?
The
all of them was the
answer. Calling my CPA and asking for estate planning. I belong to the estate planning council here in San Mateo County. So I have all of these estate planning attorneys that I can approach.
Yeah.
And every time I meet with one, I take them a gift bag with a little bottle of tiny Prosecco and a candle and, you know, something good. And it's wonderful.
Love it.
It perpetuates itself. It's been fantastic.
It does. And Susie asked a question. If you're a newer agent, right? You know what? Most people don't have a relationship in place. And if they do, the agent that they have in place is not following up with them on a regular basis. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. You can easily go in and take over and become the dominant agent in that relationship just by following up, doing what Anita just mentioned as well, right? Remember back in the day, title reps, when they used to come by the office and they check in and they'd have stuff and swag and all that. Remember those good old days, right? Same thing. What would it look like if once a month you stopped by their office with a little item of value? Bagels, donuts. I used to have a client, he had his own, he went to a packaging company. He had his own custom bagel box design that folded up into a house with his logo wrapped around it. And once a month he'd go to each professional, he'd drop off his box of bagels and connect with them. So thank you, Anita. So there you go.
Aaron, I have a question, if I may.
Yes, Dorothy.
The golden letter, which really intrigues me. You had said not to send it to the same place multiple times. Can you go into a little bit more? Do you just choose one place, take a shot, send it there, as long as the 6% is the case?
So let's come up with a plan, right? Each month we're gonna have a budget, right, to drop however many letters, right? 500, 800, 1,000 letters. So I'm gonna look each month, right? And I'm gonna pick an area of however many homes, 500, 800, 1,000, that has at least 6% turnover, right? And so each month I'm gonna drop letters on a different area. right? Trust me, there's a lot of homes, and I don't care where you live, there's a lot of homes and a lot of areas that have the right turnover. And so, yeah, the key is you're not repeating areas, you're going to a new area each time you draw.
And how do you find this information of turnover?
So a lot of different sources, right? You can go on, there's like list source, there's certain sites online you can find it. Often in some markets, title reps can provide that information. All of us are connected to our MLS, which has some property tax information, whether it's Realist or Tax and Suite or whatever. Those are all, you can go in there and find all the data, export it out as well. And I'm sure Remind. So there's a lot of sources. I won't go in the weeds on it, but there's a lot of sources on where you can find the information. So great question though.
My golden letter has right now about 3 or 4 paragraphs. You think it's over? You think it's too much?
Carlitha, yes, what you have is not a golden letter, you have a marketing piece. And so the reason why the letter works is because it's not a marketing piece. In fact, on that example I shared on Gina Ron's, he doesn't even put his logo on it, right? Because you don't want it to be a marketing piece. You want the person opening it to think that you sent them a letter. You sent them a letter. That's why I called it, it's more of an intimate letter than a marketing piece. Because they read it and say, right, dear Aaron, would you be interested in selling your home at 123 Main Street to a client of mine? If so, call me. I'm not marketing anything else other than, do they want to sell their house to a client of mine? Very intimate. So yes, get rid of all the paragraphs, 2 sentences. Right? Would your client be interested in selling would you be interested in selling your home to a client of mine? If so, please call me. That's it. No more. No more.
Okay. I'm going to try that approach. Maybe I'll get a better response.
Thank you, Carlitha. All right, someone else is speaking. Go ahead.
Do you send it even if you don't have a buyer for that area? Is it still okay to send, or do you specifically need to have a buyer for that area?
Amber, do you invest in real estate?
Yes.
Okay. There's your answer.
Okay, perfect.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Aaron, do you ever use like a service that makes it look like it's handwritten
Yes.
on the actual letter itself?
Yes, there's 2 services. There's 2 services that I recommend. One is called The Addressers. The Addressers, I'll type it out, www.theaddressers.com. And then the other one is Ballpoint Marketing, www.ballpointmarketing.com. There you go. There you go. Do not hand, it's in this chat. Do not hand write or have that letter hand addressed. That can be typed. Just the envelope, the 2, right? Deliver to, that part gets hand addressed.
What
Okay.
return address do you use? You still put a return address on
Well,
there?
Gene doesn't use a return address. If you use some of those companies, they'll require a return address. So there's pros and cons to outsourcing it. But you don't have to, if you do it yourself, or if you have your admin do it, which an admin can do about 50 letters an hour, you don't need, you can do no return address. I get fooled with this thing. I got a letter the other day, right? Baby blue envelope, a real stamp, hand addressed. I'm like, who's sending me a letter? I opened it up. It was a giant ego piece from an agent, right? It went straight in the trash. But I opened the letter. It worked. It worked.
Hey, Aaron,
Yeah, go ahead.
you said we can review the recording of this. Where can we
Yes.
find that, or where do we look for it?
It's going to come out in the MAPS newsletter that comes out every Friday. So it will be there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes.
咁你一齊食。
Oh, by the way, so Susie, it's not a handwritten
你就
font.
咁放喺度啦，
So hold on. So ballpoint, the addressers, it's not a font that's
咁
hand.
放喺度咪得咯，有使乜揀？
Okay. All right. Okay. It's not a font. It's actually machines holding a pen, mimicking handwriting. And when it's in a short blurb, it's mind blowing. Yeah, it's really creative. So good stuff. All right. Who else has a question, comment, thought? By the way, let me put in the chat if you're interested. So the program I do is the 30, 60, 90 training on listing agents. It's an intense everyday program, right? But I'll put it here in the chat if you're interested in it. Also, let me put my email. Anyone's more than welcome to reach out to me, right? So there you have it. All right, we still got time. What other questions do you have?
What's your script when someone calls you from the golden letters?
Yeah, we say, hey, thanks for calling, right? By the way, I sent it to a couple. Which house was yours? Okay, great. Where are you planning on moving when you sell the house? And when can I come out and see it? It's that simple, right? It's that simple. Usually I'll acknowledge I did send more than one letter. Which address are you calling from? Great, right? It's a great house. By the way, if you sell it, where are you planning on moving to? How soon do you have to be there? When can I come out and take a look? Do weekdays or weekends work better for you? And then they're going to say what? What's their big objection going to be? Do you really have a buyer? Of course I do. That's why I sent the letter. When can I come out and take a look? Do weekdays or weekends work better for you? Well, you can only see it if you bring your buyer. Look, I'm not going to waste your time or buyer's time, right? Until I have clarity on exactly what the home looks like inside, what your expectations are on pricing, and what your expectations are on timing. So if I were to come out and take a look, do weekdays or weekends work better? Here's what you have to understand is that every lead source has their shtick, I call it, right? When a buyer walks into an open house, do they say to you, oh my God, I'm glad you're here, I want to buy a house? Maybe they do now, but they used to not say that, right? No, they come in and say, oh, we're just looking, right? Now, we didn't talk about expired listings, and I'm not saying you should call them. However, back in the day when people used to call expired listings, right? The expired listing would always say, oh no, we changed our minds. And yet 75% of them came back on the market, right? They have a shtick, they have their guard up. When someone calls from a golden letter, right? They're gonna give you, oh, we're just curious. No, they're not just curious. They wouldn't have called you from a letter if they didn't have a deep desire at some point to sell their house. Who does that, right? The only people who call you from the letter are people who want to sell their homes. The only people who walk into open houses are people who are looking to buy or sell real estate, right? So don't let them fool you about we're just curious, and then you don't push for an appointment, you put them in follow-up, you call them a month later, they've already listed and sold. You have to be aggressive about getting out there and meeting them at the house, no matter what they tell you over the phone. There you go. All right. Who else? Question, comment. And again, I apologize. It's fast. It's furious. We covered a lot of ground.
Hi, Aaron. This is Hannah from Toronto.
Hi, Hannah.
I have a question regarding the golden letter.
Yes.
I'm working on something at this time, and I'm probably scheduled to deliver the letter with the cookies to the hospitals and the police stations and things like that. I've just put in I'm just writing as a thank you to all their services, not adding anything about real estate to it.
Okay.
But I've put in my name with the company logo. Is that still?
Well, all right. So what you're doing, okay, so you're doing something I don't even have on the list, which is first responders. You can have a whole, all right. So here's what I would say on first responders is you got to treat this just like the professionals in the sense that if you're going to go buy a firehouse, right? Which, by the way, they always welcome, I have kids, so of course we go to the firehouse. They welcome guests all the time, right? We're just hanging out there for the most part until they get an emergency. However, if you're going to go to a local firehouse and you want to dominate and own, right, them as a part of your database, you got to show up there every single month on a regular basis, shaking hands, and that would be my recommendation. It's not about what you drop off. If you're going to go there in person, you got to show up frequently in person so that they know you, they can ask you questions and bring them some of these topics, right?
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. Good. All right. Anyone else? Questions? We got a few minutes. I'll hang out for a minute or two.
Aaron.
Oh, Susie, you're asking a question that would take 3 hours. But all right, go ahead, Catherine.
Yes, Aaron, I'm wondering, like, if you, with the golden letter, if you actually get to the listing appointment and then the prospect says, so who is the buyer that you have on the line that wants to buy my house?
I got a question for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. What's more important, time or money? Are you looking for ease of sale, or do you want to net the most money possible? Right? What's more important to you? Is it ease of sale, right? Or are you looking to net the most money possible? Because if it's netting the most money possible, putting the home on the open market and exposing it to all the buyers will absolutely bring you the most money possible. And as a fiduciary, I have to share this with you.
Well, and if they answer ease of sale,
Then write them an offer. Because I hope, as Gary says, the first question we ask when we walk to any listing is, should we buy this, right? And at what price would you buy it?
Okay, I have a question.
But you bring up a great point, because people struggle with that. And the way you handle it is figure out what's important, ease of sale or netting the most money possible. Once you look at it, they know what they called on, right? They know what they called on, right? Once we get into netting, here's how you net the most money possible. That's all they're going to care about. That's all. Okay, go ahead, Nicole. I think you had a question.
Yes, so I've been farming my personal neighborhood and I have 2 pre-approved buyers, but then I'm also interested in buying one for an investment property. So if I end up being the buyer, do I need to be up front? At what point am I up front about I'm the buyer?
Well, look, I mean, if you have 2 people looking in the neighborhood, I would probably, first
give it to them. Yes.
Yeah. And then if it's not the right fit for them, right? Then you say, hey, look, I'm actually interested in buying
in
real estate.
Indianapolis.
Whoop.
Mentira.
There you go. All right. Worldwide on today's call. I would just say, hey, look, I'm actually interested. What would it take? What would it take? Yeah, Nicole, I don't think it's a difficult conversation. I just think we just have to be upfront and simply just say, hey, I'd be interested in buying it, based on, and then you have to present a number, present the pros on why they should take it versus putting it on the open market, right? Give them both sides of it and let them choose. You'd be surprised at how many people would choose ease of sale over netting the most money possible. Maybe you won't be shocked because we're seeing it happen often. All right, 2 more minutes. Who else has a question?
I have one.
All right, go ahead.
I'm not sure if you covered this already, but when we get to the golden letter and you say you have a buyer and then you get through the door and then you don't really have a buyer, how do you pivot that conversation to talk about getting it on the market?
Yeah, that's what Catherine asked. The pivot is simple. What's more important, ease of sale or netting the most money possible? That's how you pivot it, right? Okay. That's how you pivot it. All right, great question. Great question. All right. Time for one more, if it's out there. Guys, you guys are all going to the golden letter.
Just wanted to check among those top 5 that we have in here, what to advise anyone, where to start. I know all of them are great. Where would you see the biggest, production from the top 5?
All of them. You answered your own question. It's all of them. That's why I only did 5. That's why I did 5. It's all of them, right? But look, here's the thing, right sizing. We're not going out and finding people that aren't in our database. We're taking this conversation to our database, right? Because the more we talk about the fact that how much money people have in their homes, what they could be doing with it, the more they say, that's interesting. Tell me more about that, right? They're looking to us, right? On how would I do that? What would it look like, right? To cash out or to sell and then buy something smaller and take that money and put it into retirement or buy the Airbnb. So we're taking this conversation and we're speaking it to our database, right? Professional referrals. We probably have more professionals in our database than we even thought of, right? Same thing. We're going to our database with it. So all of it is pertinent in my opinion. By the way, you guys know why we have a pilot shortage? Anybody know? Well, did you know we have a pilot shortage? And the reason we have a pilot shortage is because of number 1, right sizing, right? Remember beginning of pandemic when there were only a certain number of flights going, it was those pilots that had seniority that got to fly. Well, they were working routes they didn't want to work. Meanwhile, their homes were going through the roof. Their retirement portfolios were going through the roof. And they said, what are we doing? Let's sell the house, cash out, right? Take that money, right size, go buy the house in Florida, take the rest of it, throw it in our retirement account, and we're done. And that's what they did. And that's why there's a pilot shortage. This whole, in the news, the whole great resignation, you guys see all that in the news? It's not the great resignation. It's baby boomers saying, wait a minute, go back to the office? I don't think so. House is through the roof, retirement is through the roof. No, I think I'm good. We're gonna right size the house, take the money, throw it in retirement, go and do a little consulting for 20 hours a week, spend more time with the grandkids traveling. I don't need to go back to the office. That's what's happening out there, right? So there you go. All right, I think I got to wrap it up before I get in trouble. All right, everyone, thank you for being here. You guys have my information. I'll throw it in the chat one more time in case you need it, right? There you have it. Have a great holiday week. We'll see you guys in the new year. See you, everybody.
Hey, happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Appreciate you.